Welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange. Stories by leaders for leaders to help you to raise the bar on your own performance and to release the potential inside of you. Now, here's today's episode. Greetings, everyone. It's Hugh Ballou, founder and president of Center Vision Leadership Foundation. This is the Nonprofit Exchange. Interviews with people who have a message. They've been there, done that. They have an expertise. Many times we interview business leaders because we need to know good, sound business principles to install in the 501c3 charitable organization that we run. We call it a nonprofit, but we got to make some extra money to be able to grow our organization and to pay decent salaries and to actually fulfill our mission. And we need to tell people about the good work we're doing. One of those places that I believe is very underutilized is LinkedIn. And today I have a dear friend, Carol Kaemmerer here, who's a branding specialist. She's going to focus her message today on how to utilize LinkedIn as a nonprofit to accomplish your goals and let the world know about the good stuff you're doing. Carol, welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange, and tell people a little bit about who you are and why do you do this work that you do?
Okay, I'm Carol Kaemmerer, and I work with companies and senior leaders to help them share their brand online so that they can do the things that they are looking to do. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool for doing that. And my experience is that senior leaders of any stripe generally don't use it well. And so that's who I focus on working with. I also am a philanthropist in my own right, and also a board officer in 2 nonprofits. And the one that I want to share with you today is Water to Thrive, which does well projects in Eastern Africa, in Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Uganda, bringing clean water for the first time to people in rural areas.
Wow. I think every leader should serve, a business leader should serve on a nonprofit board. It's so important that we share not only our philanthropy and money, but our philanthropy of time and talent. And there's a lot of things we need to do, and it's good for business, but that's not why we do it, but it's good for us to be active. So I've got a presence on LinkedIn and a pretty decent following. I think 15,000 people that
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Seem to know something, but engaging people and getting them to do something, it's a whole different ball game. Now, to start with, LinkedIn is very different from the other social media platforms. So talk a little bit about that. And then if we run a nonprofit, do we set it up as me, the executive director, or the organization? So there's a couple of questions.
Sure. Okay. So tell me your first question again.
What's different about LinkedIn and why should we go there?
Yes. Okay. So, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, we can show what we had for lunch if that's important to us, but that doesn't work on LinkedIn. LinkedIn really has a business purpose. And so, you know, not so much pictures of your son playing in a little league game, unless you're making a business point. No cat pictures, you know, no dog movies. LinkedIn is a platform for business. It really, really is. And so we need to adjust how we communicate, but really, you know, if we have a nonprofit, we're likely to have a business purpose, however charitable it might be. So it's not hard to use LinkedIn. And then your second question was about
do we set up a profile for the organization
Okay.
or for a person?
Okay, so you cannot set up a profile for an organization unless you have a profile for yourself. So your organizational profile, we call it a company page, has to be connected to someone in the organization. So first, I would recommend, like, the executive director would set up a profile for themselves. Then, if there's never been a company page on LinkedIn for the organization, it's really important for them to do that, to set up a company page. And it's not hard and it doesn't cost anything, which is something that really should resonate with all those leaders of nonprofits. So to set up a company page, you need a website, you need a logo, you need an email that goes to the URL or goes to the domain of your company, your nonprofit, and then you can set it up. It's so easy. It should take 5 minutes. You need some kind of banner image. Most nonprofits have really great pictures. You need to propagate it with your logo. And then here's the magic. Once you have it set up, it is accessible for every member of your staff to have it on their profile, which is a real credibility builder. And every member of your board can list it as a volunteer activity and have that profile logo show up on their profile. And if you have volunteers that spend a significant amount of their time working with you, and they feel like listing you as one of their volunteer organizations, they could have the logo too. So it's just magical, because a logo on LinkedIn translates to credibility. If you have no logo for your nonprofit, it's not a good thing.
So there's a common mistake. That's awesome. There's a common mistake, however, that when
Yes.
you have a pretty logo, they say, oh, that's my brand, which is not true. Would you speak to that?
Oh, your brand is so much more. Your brand is how you see the world. Your brand is who you serve and how you serve them. Your brand just can't be captured in a little picture, with letters on it. But it is important to have your logo there, because it says you've arrived. You know how the business world works. Every nonprofit needs people with business skills to be on their board. And really, it's hard to join a board as a senior level leader has to figure out where they want to spend their time. And they want a little credit. That little credit comes in having the logo show up on their profile. So if you don't have the logo, the only way you can get the logo to show up on anyone's profile is there has to be a company page.
Great. Any secret? Is it JPEG? Is it another format? And is there a certain size or any logistics that we need to think about, or does it matter?
Oh, these things probably change all the time, like everything on LinkedIn. So just, work on it. One of the things about the banner image is it's long and skinny, and it's about the same size as the banner image that's in the back of your own personal profile. That's another thing that you can do. The executive director, for sure, should have a picture of something that depicts what your organization does. Like, with Water to Thrive, you can certainly have pictures of people in Africa drawing water. It's like wonderful. You can have people celebrating. We have all kinds of pictures on our website of people celebrating the coming of clean water to their community. And, it's like full of color. And instantly you have a connection between the person and who we serve and how we serve them. Now, in the United States, we have to have lots of sign-offs before we put clients in our picture. But, something, something that depicts the organization. And you can even draw an image into canva.com, which is a very easy to use program for graphics, and superimpose your logo or some words that are part of your mission statement. This is real estate on the LinkedIn profile that you can use.
So there's special places for special information. And, we want to talk about the work of the nonprofit. And I think of the Simon Sinek TED Talk and book, Start With Why.
Yes.
So there needs to be a real clear branding message about why you exist and what problem you're solving. Like you were really clear about the water project. People don't have water. And
yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And you're solving that problem, and you do it in a unique way in very specific places that you're helping. But what are, I see lots of really weird things on company pages. So what's the good protocol, and where are the pockets we want to make sure that we populate? You talked about some images of the work of the nonprofit, which is very different than I went to coffee and had fun with my friends.
Right.
Like you do on Instagram or Facebook. But so it's a very different audience, and it's a very different tone about the conversation. And although it doesn't have to be somber, it's a very serious representation of the work that we do.
Yeah, I think it is.
So the different places that we want to put information. So there's particular sections. Can you talk a minute about what's good to go in those sections? One of my pet peeves is I find somebody and I want their contact information. The only thing in there is their LinkedIn profile. I'm already there. So there's no way to get a hold of anybody. So what are the different sections and why are they important?
Okay, so I'm going to start with your personal profile, telling about the sections, and then we can talk about the company page. Okay,
Right.
So assuming that you are a senior leader of a nonprofit, like the executive director or the marketing director or the communications director, you want to make sure that you're making some use of that banner image that we just talked about, that image that is behind your photo. And, a really good possibility is that someone in the marketing area of your nonprofit could make several different possible banners that staff might be invited to consider using. Now, I really feel strongly that you shouldn't demand that your staff do that, but if they felt that that was appropriate, that they could load up a picture. So that's the first place. A second area is your headline. That's the text that comes right under your name. And instead of just saying Executive Director Water to Thrive, we have 220 characters to customize that. So it could say Executive Director Water to Thrive, and then connecting people with a heart to give with people who need clean water in East Africa. Something like that. So you can talk about your mission right there in that 220 characters, which actually is a lot of characters. So that's the second place. Another place is the featured section, which is a fairly new section, about 2 years old. And the featured section is all about visual. The things that you would want to put in here are not Word documents. Put instead photos of your staff at work, the people receiving, if that's possible, depictions of what you do. Load up videos from your nonprofit. If you have any kind of video, that's a great place because the images there are not teensy weensy, they're great big. And in terms of impact, the featured section is just fabulous. And then when you write your about section is really about you, but it's hard to just like totally miss what you do. You know? So some of that will be about that. And then your current position as a leader of a nonprofit. That should include information about the nonprofit and then what you do for the nonprofit. What are your accomplishments? One of the things is that on LinkedIn, people like to see numbers in our section about our experience. So if you were the communications director and you were able to increase the social media following from one year to the next, you might put that in there. You would certainly put in things like increase in the number of people served, that kind of thing. So that's what you would do on your own profile. Do you want to talk about the company page?
Yes, yeah, go ahead to the company one because that's got my attention.
Okay, so the company page, again, you need that big, well, you don't need, but it would be nice to have a great picture from your organization as a banner image. And then you have the logo. Under the name of the company, you get to upload your mission statement. And when you've done that, you have a company page. If you've loaded the logo in there and the mission statement and bonus the banner, then you have a de facto company page and everybody can access that logo. But you can also, on a periodic basis, post something. What I do, because people most often know people instead of companies, I post my stuff from my site, my personal site, to my company page. And I would recommend that because you are more likely to get more views. And then you can, after it's posted to the company site, everyone can use the URL. All your staff and all of your board members can use that URL of the posting to post it again from their profile.
So there's also some value if you've posted, because the algorithm for LinkedIn looks for things like comments and shares and likes, don't they?
Yes.
So it's important. So if you're posting something, this is a place where your volunteers and your board and your staff could be engaged. You could send out, I'm going to post here. Now, understand if you do it pretty close to the time it's posted, it has a lot more energy. Do you know anything about the algorithm and how that works?
Not particularly. You know, one of the things that I think is that you just encourage your staff and your board to amplify. Everybody, you know, we have people on our board that don't use LinkedIn. You know, that happens. And you have staff that never want to be on LinkedIn. So, you know, it's like, do what you can. It's a possibility. And if you could get everybody to repost on the same day, it would probably have more value than if they post 3 days from now. But on the other hand, 3 days from now, somebody reintroducing it into the feed might get traction. So all of these optimizing things about how many minutes between this and that, just let that go. Make sure that people just are following and,
Well, it's another way for people to be engaged. And I find that if I give people a sample posting, hey, would you go, here's our posting, would you go post this
Right.
on your page? Then they're more likely to do it. If they do the cut and paste method, than
Right.
trying to make up something, because that's where people get stalled.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about the book. If you listen on the podcast, you don't see the book, but there's a book on your screen behind you. Tell us about your book, and you can find more about Carol at Carol Kaemmerer, and it's not an easy name to spell for me because I'm my age and mental condition here. So it's K-A-E. It's umlaut there spelled out K-A-E. 2 M's, M-M-E-R-E-R. So it's Carol with a C, C-A-R-O-L, K-A-E-M-M-E-R-E-R.com. So it's also on the page with this interview. So you can go find out about all the nifty stuff that she has. So talk about the book that you have. And there's a page there they can find the book too.
Sure. My book is available on my website. It's called LinkedIn for the Savvy Executive. Promote your brand with authenticity, tact, and power. And it's in the 2nd edition. I published the 2nd edition last January. And so it's really well up to date. And it's all about strategies, just like I've been sharing with you. One of the things that you won't find on my book is a bunch of screenshots of how it looks when you do this and that, because if we did that, the book would be out of date before it was published. So what I say is, this is what I see now. And if that's not what you see on LinkedIn, Google it, because Google keeps up with what's happening on LinkedIn, and they absolutely can get you right to the right place on LinkedIn Help, as opposed to if you bumble into LinkedIn Help, it's very unhelpful because you can't figure out where to go. So always use Google, it's a great tool. And LinkedIn Help, when you get to the right place, is very helpful.
So LinkedIn for the savvy executive, and I'm sure it's for the unsavvy either. So even I could benefit from that. Whether I'm classified
you're one of the savviest people I know.
I was fishing. Okay, so got busted there. So there ought to be a point person in the organization to set policy and procedure for social media.
Yes.
I guess that would be the board itself needs to approve it, but the leader in the organization, as you point out, is the executive director. Now that could be delegated. What's the word? Delegate is one thing we don't do very well, but to delegate it to a person that's going to be able to actually post on a regular, consistent basis. Understand that's also important. So how about, in the book, do you talk about a whole protocol or process that should be installed in our, I guess the book's all about that, if you look at it in total.
Well, I think that things are a little bit different when you are talking about an organization. This book is mostly geared to the individual. So I didn't talk about how an organization should develop its social media protocols. But, the concept of having whoever is in charge of communications and whoever is in charge of the top leader, they should sit down and think about, well, what are the issues that are likely to come up? One of the things that I feel strongly about is that you cannot demand that your staff or your board post anything. It's like very intrusive, but you can make it possible for them to do so. And you want to have in your HR manual things like things that would be unacceptable staff behavior. Like unacceptable staff behavior would be to post pictures of clients when there's no sign off. That's not acceptable here in the US. Demeaning staff or board members online, scandalous stuff. But I'm guessing that anything that would be posted by the top executive or the communications person would be something that could easily shared and wouldn't be a problem.
My guideline is don't post anything that I wouldn't want my mother
Oh, I love that.
disapprove of. Yes, if my mother.
What I hear is don't post anything you would be embarrassed if your grandmother saw. So.
So posting is important, and it's a communication and it's a value. So there's regular posts and there's articles. Are those different, or are they the same thing?
Well, you go to the same starting place, but they are different. The articles are longer, and articles start with the expectation that you're going to have a picture with it. So you need a photo of some kind, or an illustration that goes with that. And they have a byline, and they live on. You'll be able to find them again. Posts are, you can post your article, but posts are generally shorter, and they may or may not have a picture. And you can post in a lot of ways. You can post with a poll. You take ask your friends about something. Poll, or just anything that tickles you, but in a business way.
So when people go to carolkaemmerer.com, what will they find when they get there, and what should people be looking for?
Well, I have my book for sale. You can also buy my book on Amazon, but if you want an autographed, signed, inscribed book, it's available through my website. If you are looking for how do I make my own profile better, I have a great course called How to Be Found Online, Key Strategies for Attracting Ideal for You Opportunities. And that is available on my site. And then also, because I write about how can we use LinkedIn effectively to achieve our goals every month. I also have sign up for my newsletter, and I send my monthly articles to people so that they actually see them in their inbox.
I think there's a lot of, you said your book is written for the executive, but I would still think that the whole process is similar.
Oh, absolutely.
That you want to be clear about what you stand for.
Yes.
And what kind of results that you're looking for. So I still would recommend people check out.
Absolutely.
And so your trainings are for the leaders, probably be good for the board members to look at those.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So people who are in college, people who are in graduate school, I've taught to, I've guest lectured many times to those groups, and people just love the book because it's written with a person in mind who wants the high level. They want a lot of white space. They want to know what's important. And so my book has both red and black text and boxes and call outs, and it's very well designed. It gets you through the book so easily. The other, I'll let you talk.
Oh, good. I like pictures. So we got a couple of minutes left in our timeline here. So what are some of the things that you see on LinkedIn that make you cringe? What are some of the biggest mistakes people do on LinkedIn?
Oh, the very most egregious mistake is thinking it doesn't matter, thinking that no one's going to look. Because people are looking all the time. We had a situation where we were trying to figure out if we could find someone from Doctors Without Borders, because we wanted to talk to them about collaborating with us on a particular project. And I was able to use my search skills on LinkedIn to find that there was somebody right in Austin, Texas, where Water to Thrive is, that we could contact. And it was like, oh, this is so good. And, it's important to just be there. It's amazing the number of ways that people and reasons why people would look at your profile.
Write like it matters, be consistent,
Yes.
Provide value to your readers. Because
absolutely.
So I really advise nonprofits to have a communications person that includes the writing of articles and the posting. That somebody really should own this whole channel, but it's still approved by the board, and there's official process. And somebody, as you pointed out, needs to have the beginning page. So it's a conversation. Social media is in fact social. And
how about that?
Yeah. So Carol, thank you for sharing some of your long respected, well-earned and proven secrets. And as you pointed out, things do change, so we need to stay abreast of it, but it's still, the fundamentals have not changed. It's a business place. It's B2B conversations, but there are people on there that could support you if you just tell the story. Right. Why is it important and what is it you're looking for? So I think we are in business. We're in a nonprofit, tax exempt, for purpose business. So it's important for us to utilize the tools, and LinkedIn certainly is a valuable one. So what do you want to leave people with today? Is there a thought or a challenge or a tip that you'd like to end this nice conversation with?
I really, really hope that every nonprofit will make sure that they have a company page. Let everyone know on their staff and board to enable that logo to appear. You have to sometimes delete the name of the organization and type it in again and find it from the drop-down menu. If you've just created the company page, everybody needs to do that. So that the logo will appear. So, and just use it. It's the best advertising you never had to pay for.
Well, this has been helpful. I'm glad I tuned in today. I learned some things. So
well, good.
I've been at this a long time, but we can always learn new stuff. Carol Kaemmerer, thank you so much for being our guest on the Nonprofit Exchange today.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Thank you for watching the Nonprofit Exchange.